Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Taufan, and I am a representative of BSI Bina Sarana Informatika in this debate competition, acting as the Prime Minister. And I want to thank you for all the judges, all the other contestants for this opportunity for me to participate in this competition. Now, let's get on to our motion. What is the motion? The motion is this House believes that developing countries should require foreign companies to have a minimum local workers regulation in order to cope with their unemployment problems or low employment rates, or how much you want to call it. Now, what is the definition of this motion? First of all, let's discuss what is developing countries. Developing countries are countries that has not achieved significant degree of industrialization. They have a low industrialization rate and they have a low human development index. Now, they are being left behind by the other countries, which we can call the developed countries. So they kind of need their economic growth to be more significant. Now, what are foreign companies? Foreign companies are companies that origins from outside of the country itself. They want to invest in certain countries, although they are from outside that country. Now, what is this regulation about low employment rate? Now, first of all, low employment rate means that now it's a common law that in developing countries, they will have high unemployment rate, higher than those that are developed. So the regulation intends to generally force an implication for these foreign companies that if they want to invest, they would have to have a certain number of minimum local workers that works in their company. Now, do I agree with this motion? Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with this motion as the Prime Minister. Now, why do I agree with this motion? First of all, it's a mutualism. It's a symbiotic relationship between the countries and the investors. Why is that? The investors, when they invest in certain countries, there is a reason for it. There's no way that they just do it on random. It's probably because the country, the developing country, have resources that they want to build upon, whether it be natural resources or their just raw human resources. In the end, they have resources that the companies want, right? Now, the local countries, the developing countries also want something. They want to reduce their unemployment rate. They want to increase their human development index and in the end achieve significant degree of industrialization. So it's a mutualism. The company profits by extracting the resources from certain countries and building their companies on top of it, and the developing countries profited by minimizing their unemployment rate and having these workers also have learned to work. They will be educated by their experience. It's like hitting two birds with one stone. So yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Now, why should we make it into a regulation? Why don't we just let them do what they want? They will surely hire local workers, right? No. This is the thing about companies. Companies, when you don't put them in an actual paper agreement, they will do shady things. Just like what happened in Indonesia. Just this late October in 2020, 61 foreign illegal Chinese immigrants was caught working in a gold mine in West Kalimantan. You know what this means? This means that the company is doing shady things. Why? Because these illegal immigrants would not have higher demands compared to the local workers. You can pay them basically nothing and they'll just work just so they can eat and continue surviving their daily life. This is shady things. The company wants to profit as much as they can. Now we, as the government of certain developing countries, we should implicate them with, hey, we also want to profit, right? It has to be a mutualism. Now, this is one of the reasons, right? Companies will do shady stuff if we don't abide them by a contract, right? Now, one other example that I want to put on into this strong argument is that Singapore, right? Singapore is a developed country. It's the ninth country with the most human development index. It's very significant and it's located near us as a developing country, right? They still apply this regulation. In fact, just this 2 years recently, they tightened their regulation on it. They forced the foreign companies to tighten their DRC, or dependent ratio ceiling. What is dependent ratio ceiling? Dependent ratio ceiling is basically the number of foreign workers allowed to work in these foreign companies. So they tightened the number of foreign companies allowed to work, number of foreign workers allowed to work in these foreign companies. So that means more space for the local workers in Singapore. And let me tell you, Singapore is a very developed country compared to the developing ones. They don't really need this, but they still applied it anyway. And we, as the developing countries, should take example of it and fighting for the justice, for the economy of also our people, because it's really necessary increasing our human development index as well. Now, we have to set that example. We have to take the example that was set by Singapore and other developed countries that also fight for their local workers in order to increase ours, because we developing countries need it more. We need it way more than they do. And so that's it from me. Just as I said earlier, I wholeheartedly agree with this notion. I think this should be applied as soon as possible, because developing countries have resources that foreign companies want. They will also benefit from it. So yes, we should apply this as soon as possible, and I, as the Prime Minister, agree with this notion. That's it from me, Muhammad Taufan. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.